Changing the subject is the same as solving an equation. Oliver, Patrick, you guys are really good at solving equations. So I'm going to give you a really super easy equation. You're going to tell me how to solve it. So if I had 5 equals 3x plus 1, what would I do to solve the equation?
Oh, it's funny. -1.
I'd minus 1 as my first step. When I minus 1 from both sides, 5 minus 1 is 4. Over here the 1's cancel, I've got a 3x. What's the next step? Divide by 3. So I divide by 3 here, divide by 3 here, give me the answer of x equals 4 on 3. Now we've been doing that for years and you guys are really awesome at it. Oliver, you need to listen. Changing the subject is where we are going to rearrange an equation, but it's not got just one letter on it. There's going to be lots of letters, and the subject is the letter that's on its own out the front. So for example, if I have this equation, v equals u plus at, what is the subject of that equation?
V.
The subject of that equation is v. I want to change the subject to a. So I want the A on its own out the front. So if any of you are planning to be electricians, this is something that is really important when you get to TAFE. They like this one a lot. You'll spend a lot of time rearranging equations. So I want the A on its own. Oliver, you really need to listen. I don't want to have to ask you to listen again. So I want the A on its own. I need to get rid of the U and the T. Just like when we're solving equations, we get rid of this, or one that's further away first. So the first thing I'm going to get rid of is the U. How do you think I should get rid of the U? I'm going to minus the U. Does that make sense?
No.
So I'm going to minus U from here, but I also have to minus U over here.
That's not U, that's V.
Now, on this side, I have V minus U. Because I can't work that out, Patrick. Over here, when I had 5 minus 1, that was easy. 5 minus 1 is 4. Over here, V minus U is easy as well. The answer is just V minus U. So I leave it as V minus U. On this side, the U's have cancelled, and I'm just left with an AT. I want the A on its own, so I need to remove the T. How do you think I'm going to do that? Divide by the T. Patrick, very chatty today. I want to get rid of the T, so I'm going to divide by T on both sides. Now over here, V minus U on T, you can't work that out. You can't simplify it. You just leave it as V minus U all over T. On this side, the T's cancel, and I've got A on its own. Just because I like it and it looks prettier, I'm going to put the A at the front. And we're done. That has rearranged the equation so it no longer has the subject as V, the subject is now A. So we need to follow the same rules of solving equations, just every single time, Nick, focus on this. Every single time we're moving a letter rather than a number, okay? It does get a little bit trickier when we start putting brackets and fractions and powers and things in. So let's look at some slightly harder examples. Let's say I have, let's make something up. M equals the square root of 3a minus b. Okay? And again, let's make a the subject. So I'm going to make A the subject. Shh. The first thing I have to do is get rid of this square root. How do I get rid of a square root?
M times 3a minus b times...
It's the opposite of a square root.
Oh, those are good. Just everything to the power of 2. To the power of 2.
Everything to the power of 2, or squared. Alright, so I'm going to square both sides. Squared here, squared here. On this side, that just gives me m squared. On this side, the squared and the square root have cancelled each other out, and I'm just left with 3a minus b. Now what? I want the a on its own. What have I got to move next? Oliver, what do I move next?
You can move the 3a Yeah, you can divide M.
I want the A on its own.
Yeah, so you put the 3 into the M.
Is that the best thing to move first? I've got to move the further away things
Oh,
first.
you move the B then.
How do I move
So
the
you
B?
add it to the other side.
You add the B. So what's M squared plus B equal? M squared plus B. Okay, it's a trick question. It's just M squared plus B. On this side, the B's now gone, and I'm just left with 3A. How do I get rid of the 3? Divide by 3. Make sure when you're dividing, you divide the whole thing by 3. So my answer is A equals M squared plus B over 3. And I've now created a new equation where A is the subject. Is that making sense, Josh?
Yes.
Yep. Alright, what if I have... let's not play that music in class, thank you. What if I have some fractions? Guys. Say I've got G equals 2A over XY. Make X the subject. Alright, what's wrong with this question? The problem. X is on the bottom. I cannot make X the subject. Even if I moved all the others away, the X would still be on the bottom. So my first step is to get X off the bottom. How do I do that? Timesing by 2A will not move the X. Timesing by Y will not move the X. Timesing by X, Patrick. Timesing by X will move the X. Alright, we've done lots of practice of fractions. I don't want it, that's the whole point. I'm going to move it somewhere else. It's not gone because it'll be over here. So if I multiply everything by X, over here I now have an X. So it's going to be GX over here. On this side, the X is cancelled, so I no longer have X on the denominator, which was the problem, and I'm just left with 2A over Y. X is still not on its own. I have this G. How do I get rid of it?
Divide by G.
We're going to divide by G. What happens over here when I divide by G? Where does it go?
Next to the Y.
Next to the Y. So over here, dividing by G is cancelling it, and I'll just be left with X. On this side, when I divide by G, it joins the Y, which is also dividing. And so it's going to be 2A on GY. Alright, I think it's going to make more sense if you try a few for yourself. So we're looking at exercise 206 on page 68.
Okay.